Hello, Todd here from FreeCoyoteHuntingGuide.com. Today I'm sitting here with Lee Smith from Yellerdog Predator Calls, and we're going to do a little interview with him today. Lee, why don't you take a minute and tell us, how you got started in the call making business?
Okay, Todd, I got into the call making business because of my love for predator hunting, I guess. Started hunting coyotes back in the early mid-90s when I moved into the area.
Now, you live in Michigan.
I live in Michigan, up in Lenawee County, southeastern Michigan. We manufacture our calls in Clinton, Michigan, where we are right now. I guess how I really got into call making because I was buying calls that I wasn't happy with what I was getting. So
you were going to one of the hunting stores and picking up something off the shelf.
Yeah, a call made by a company that specializes in making deer or turkey calls is not necessarily the best place to buy a predator call, but unfortunately, especially at that time, that's what was available.
Right, I think that's where most of your calls started from, call makers that made calls for deer hunting or duck hunting or elk hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got some calls and really wasn't happy with the amount of air they took, the sounds they produced, the ease of use. A lot of things you buy, they might sound good, but you blow on them for 5-10 minutes and they quit working. You got a coyote coming in, that doesn't make you happy. So
right.
Through that, I started making a few prototypes of things, and then when I set out to do it, I wanted to achieve a few things. One of them was ease of use, not taking much air. So many of the calls you take, about need
right, I know some of
to run.
I have piles and piles of hand calls. I know some of them take a tremendous amount of air to blow through, and that's one of the things I really like about your calls is it doesn't take much air at all.
Yeah, so that was one of the primary goals. The other was, they don't freeze, obviously. I'm in Michigan, and the northern states gets quite cold. That's what led us to the open reed design that we use. And quality of sound, of course. I think we've achieved some things that few other have.
Right.
We can do things because of our CNC and design capabilities that most places can't. Kind of tell you a little about myself. I have an automotive tool and die shop that I've had since 1990, and that's really helped out with what we're doing here. Our understanding of designing and engineering things and changing as they go.
So you put a lot of effort in design into a call.
First and foremost comes the design aspect.
Right.
I come up with a concept in my head. I'm going to spend, several hours before anything ever happens to the plastic. I'm going to be on my computer.
So if it doesn't, you make a call and it just doesn't sound the way you want, you just back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Which at the beginning, there was a lot of trial and error in it. Since then I've developed so many calls and so many tone boards that I can generally pinpoint the problem and head in the right direction right off the bat.
Okay, Lee, well, why don't you take a minute and show us some of the different calls that you make here.
Okay, like I said, our primary type of call is an open reed call. On an open reed call, the reed is actually exposed. This is the tone board, the reed. There's always a wedge locking system of some sort on the call.
Right, take a minute, tell people what that little rubber band is there for. A lot of people don't know what that is.
The rubber band is an O-ring, and we use them on our calls mainly for beginners when they're learning how to blow on a call. You can find a spot that works good for you. Now that spot right there is where I was just blowing. If I'm inexperienced at it, until I get the hang of it, I can just put that O-ring there, and when I throw it in my mouth, it's right there. A lot of people, the way they hold their wedges in their calls, use O-rings or green bands to hold the reeds on. With our wedge locking system, that's not necessary.
So you don't really even need that.
No, they can come right off.
It just helps.
Just the reeds in good. So that's the purpose of our call. It's kind of a training tool.
Okay.
The other types of open recalls we have howlers with removable tone boards, a variety of different barrel designs. I believe you're quite familiar with this one. some open reed horn howlers, and then enclosed reed calls. On an enclosed reed call, the reed is actually inside of the call. This particular enclosed reed call uses a removable mouthpiece, which can be used as a smaller call. Or you insert it in the barrel.
That'll give you a little more volume.
Volume, it'll get out there ways.
Now, what would be the advantage of a closed reed as compared to an open reed? Are they easier to?
Yeah, much easier for a beginner to pick up a call. Anybody can pretty much stick an enclosed reed call in their mouth and apply some air and get some sound. And then all you got to do is a little hand motion and, vary your air coming through, and you got your calls. They are a little more prone to freezing up, is why we don't really recommend them for cold weather. But if you're hunting, if it's above freezing, closed reeds are very effective and easy to use.
Why don't you take a minute and just do a little sound demonstration. Start out with maybe one of your distress calls and move on to a couple of your howlers, because I know a lot of guys are really starting to get into howling, but they're not quite sure, how to do it or what makes a good sound.
Yeah, my recommendation on howling is it works very good, but until you're practiced at it, stick with your distress sounds, and when you get feeling confident with the howler, then pull it out. This is our YDD2, YDD3 call set here. The basics of an open reed call is the farther you are towards the tip of the reed, the higher, more shrill sounds. And as you work your way down farther out towards the barrel, you're going to get lower, raspier sounds. So I'll do a little rundown on the YDD3 here.
So that's your YDD3,
that's our distress call, yep. And then,
which is one of my favorite calls, by the way.
Thanks, Todd. The YDD2 is the same type of call. It's got a bigger, thicker reed and a little different tone board configuration. You can do your distress sounds and howls with it. So I'll give a quick rundown with these, and I'll grab some other calls. You can get about any sound you would like out of that call.
Yeah. Really vary the.
Then this call, you can do the same basic sounds. You're going to have some higher volume to it, to really get out there on windy days.
That's a little bigger call, a little more volume.
You can tell them apart, just by the feel of them. Then you can do your howls, the howl I recommend that people start out with your basic lonesome howl, irrigation howl, kind of a long drawn out howl, throw in a couple barks at times, 2 or 3 howls in a sequence.
More like maybe a female or maybe a younger coyote.
Yeah, I don't like to start out with anything that's too dominant sounding, because you're going to take 90% of the colors out of the equation right there. If you're out hunting a dominant male, by all means, really get on it deep and, try to draw them in. But for most of us, we're not just out after a dominant male unless it's damage control.
Right.
Just something like this. That's a good beginner song.
Now, when would you recommend that somebody uses a howl when they're calling? Is there a better time of the year?
Yeah, from January through March is very, very effective.
Right, this time of year right now. We're towards the end of February.
Yeah, right in the peak of it right now. The territorial breeding season, it starts in January, but it's really kicked in now.
Right.